No better time to remind you that today is the 25th of May. It is the final day for your submissions of your thoughts around the Finance Bill 2026. The final day. And Lady Diana is here. She'll be able to tell us where we're able to do that. If there's an email, do you go present yourself in an office? Do you write a letter and send it by post? Does the post still work? Anyway, that you can send it some way. Send it by carrier pigeon, I don't know. But today is the last day that you can actually do that. Before, Parliament also is resuming this week, and so goes back into those debates. And in a couple of days, they'll start to actually debate this. All right? Now, Kenya's budget burden is the conversation that we're having this hour. It's a 4.8 trillion shilling budget, the highest ever yet. Diana Gichengo is the Executive Director of the Institute for Social Accountability and is here with us this morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Duko. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Good morning. Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
Tom Ogada is also here. He's the economic justice expert from the Institute for Social Accountability. We are talking budget this morning. Big issues around all of this. And how is Kenya, how is the government going to fill this 4.8 trillion shilling budget hole, and is it absolutely necessary? Those are some of the conversations that we're having this hour. But before that, Dennis will tell you where he's gone this week. Love to get your interpretation of that proverb.
Okay. Today we are in a country's capital is Banjul.
Gambia.
That is Gambia. Yes. Beautiful country. When it comes to elections, they vote using pebbles, not the voters' paper, card, whatever. Mm-hmm. They use the traditional way of doing that, and that gets to elect their president. It is among the smallest countries in the continent by land mass and has a population of 2.8 million people, not a quarter of what Nairobi is, one would say. But let's go to the proverb. It is the woman whose child has been eaten by a witch who best knows the evils of witchcraft. It is the woman whose child has been eaten by a witch who best knows the evils of witchcraft. Ladies, go first. How would you interpret it?
We'll use the shoe. It's the wearer of the shoe who knows where it pains the most. If you have lived it, then nobody can mislead you. You know what it is all about. If you have lived the Kenya big budgets announcement, you know what they bring.
You know what they mean.
Yeah.
Tom, how would you interpret it?
Until you experience it, you will not understand what it means.
Why? Well said, eh?
Indeed.
I know. I know.
Okay, let's experience this thing a little bit, shall we?
Yeah.
4.8 trillion shillings is what the budget looks like this year. The finance bill essentially is the fuel. Okay, I'm sorry to use that one because I know fuel is another issue. Yeah. But if the finance bill essentially is the fuel for this budget, right? It's one that's going to tell you this is where we're going to get all the money from. That's what the finance bill essentially is. But if we look at the budget, and perhaps you can tell us because you've done some heavy research, you've looked into the numbers, and we'll start with you, Diana. But I mean, we're looking at 4.82 trillion shilling total expenditure in the next financial year, which starts on the 1st of August. 1.11 trillion is the budget deficit. Means that the government is going to borrow 1.1 trillion shilling to meet budget. Debt servicing is about 1.5 trillion, consuming over 30%. So of this 4.8 trillion shillings, 30% of it is going towards paying debt.
Yes.
Right? Education remains the biggest beneficiary, continuing investment in CBC, universities, teacher funding, things like that. Infrastructure and transport, major allocations continue for roads, logistics, and energy projects under the government's growth strategy. These are numbers or forecasts that were given to them by the different departments. So they said, okay, you need this money? Put it into the budget. Why not? Okay. Healthcare, more funding targeted toward universal healthcare and hospital systems, trying to put those things in place. Agriculture and MSMEs. Treasury says the budget supports food production, value addition, and small business financing under the Better Agenda. So somewhere in the Better Agenda is still ongoing. Energy and fuel pressure. Rise in global oil prices linked to Middle East tensions have forced government to temporarily reduce fuel VAT from 16 to 8%. But there's some major concerns that are being heard here. High debt burden. You should not be paying 30% of your total budget towards debt paying. Heavy borrowing. Still should not be borrowing 1.11 to meet budget deficit. Cost of living still high. While you look at the macro, the micro is being ignored. Development spending concerns. Treasury acknowledged and development expenditure is slightly below the Public Finance Management Act target. Do these things kind of make sense, Diana? And Even as Tom is going to look at some of the numbers for us, when we're looking at this, is there a problem? It looks like everything is covered here.
Because there's no problem. We are a rich country. We can afford 4.82 trillion. That's our budget. Our cabinet secretary will read the budget in parliament when all the other ministers for East Africa read. And proudly we will say we have the biggest budget this year. Now, do we need 4.82 trillion? That is one of the big questions. And if you look at 2023, the budget was 3.7 trillion.
Yes.
In 2 years, we've needed to grow our budget by 1.1 trillion.
Yeah.
That's over 30% growth. That's the budget growth. What's the economic growth? Is it even double digit? No. Why is our budget growing by double digits while our growth and the benefits of social services, the relief of roads and things like that is not commensurate? You've rightly highlighted that one, our budget is a very good mix. 2.8 trillion, 2,800. Wacha tuende na hiyo hesabu. Our budget is 4,800. Do you understand a trillion?
No, let's use the
2,800. We use the 4,800. 2,800 goes to the executive. Okay? 1,500 goes to repay debt, interest, and to pay a bit of pension, 1,500. So you have 4,800. 2,800 has gone to the national government. You're left with 2,000. 1.5 goes to repay debt and 1,500.
So you have 500 remaining.
Yes. Then the rest of the budget, 400, goes to counties. How much do you have now?
100.
Then we give Parliament 50. Then we give the judiciary 30. That budget is over. So it may look very, very rosy, but essentially it just means that as we do that particular calculation, we've only calculated the interest, the debt interest repayment. The principal redemption is another 1,000. A trillion somewhere will need to be repaid in principal repayment. So when we say we have a 1,100 in deficit, it's not true. It's higher than that. How much do we, now that's the budget. That's our dream. But how much money are we saying we are going to raise? We are saying we are going to raise 3,600. 3.6 trillion.
If we manage to.
If we manage to, yes. And that particular revenue is a combination of what is coming from the taxes. We are also going to get appropriations in aid. Appropriations in aid is what you will pay when you're getting your title deed.
Okay.
We will now need to inspect cars every 4 years. NTSA. Cars that are older than 4 years. The amount you will pay, that's appropriation in aid. We are proposing to increase e-citizen fees
from 50 to
100, things like that. We will the cost of IDs, that's appropriation in aid. That cumulatively is what we hope to raise, 3,600 in revenue. Okay? Of that revenue, there are even grants inside. There are grants inside there. I'm just trying to get the some people will give us some little money. Some people will. Ordinary revenue for this year, we are expecting 2.9 trillion, 2,900. Then ministerial appropriation in aid, about 632. So in total, that's why we are saying 3,600. 3.6 trillion. 2023, our budget was 3.7 trillion. This year, we will raise 3.6 trillion and we will still have a deficit. Can we continue as a country budgeting with such a deficit?
Wait. In 2026, we are still unable to raise the budget for the country in 2023.
Yes.
Yet our budget has continued to increase every year.
Every year. And our revenue has grown every year as well. That somehow Kenyans pay more tax. Every year.
Yeah.
Every year, the finance bill raises our incomes in different ways to grow the revenue. The revenue is growing even as unemployment grows. So the few people who remain employed are carrying a heavier burden every day. When that happens, what's the reasonable thing to do? For our debt and our economy to become sustainable, we must pause. At that point, just think about it. You're in debt. The Shylock Ukona Sacco, you have the bank, your neighbor's chama, and everybody else.
I'm sure.
Yes. When that happens, even if your house is leaking, can you first repair it?
Fix the thing first so that you stop the leak.
Exactly.
Okay.
But the priorities when you're in debt is immediately your lifestyle must change significantly, because you will even be offending the people who have lent you money. If you're in a village, you own a house, and you now have such a significant deficit, the first thing you do is you cannot build a new fence.
Okay.
You cannot build a new fence. You cannot say, I am planting new grass for children to play. No. All your revenue goes now to repaying debt. If your menu used to have minced meat and so on, that must change. You will now become a
Vegetarian.
Yes. Vegetarian is even, most probably you're headed for malnutrition. For you to survive. But what is our posture as a country? All is well. You people who have incomes will pay more for social health insurance. We're even saying for education, anybody who can pay should pay. The few people who cannot, we will pay for you. For now, we are planning, we are posturing as the people who can upgrade an airport, who can build the next biggest stadium in this country. Are those our priorities? As we do all that, do you know our malnutrition rate has gone up?
True.
We are at 36% of Kenyans are experiencing malnutrition. What should be your priority? Is our pride, our patriotism, our prestige as a country? Is it to be seen to have stadiums, to have good roads, or to make sure every single Kenyan is alive? And that can only be secured through food, health, education. So during this period of austerity, that is where our limited resources should be invested. It is a period where we must go down on infrastructure. But as Tom will tell you, part of this budget, all the budget for this year, you can be sure Ministry of Education will experience low budget implementation, and we will go crazy. Where hasn't the Ministry of Education absorbed their money? And the reason will be because there is not much procurement to benefit a few. That money will be delayed. Whereas the disbursement for infrastructure heavy ministries like transport, like energy, those will have 100%, if not more than, budget implementation. Our priorities are lopsided.
I mean, Tom, Kenyans are asking a simple question. Which are some of the pinpoints, the concerns with the budget they should be looking out for? What has been added? Because like you've just pointed out, right? And unemployment continues to go down. The very few continues to go up. The very few who are still in the employment bracket continues to pay more. Which are these areas that the government is getting into, taking more to fund this budget?
Thank you.
That smile says a lot.
Thank you so much. Allow me to, because the government is trying to fund a lot of things at the same time. Actually, if you look at the budget, what the government is trying to do is the government is trying to increase budgets for almost every sector. Okay? But if you look at it keenly, you will realize that where that money is supposed to go to, or where Kenyans expect money to go to, it is not headed that direction. Because, for instance, I was just trying to look at how allocations have been done in the executive offices or the top offices. You look at the likes of the State House, the Executive Office of the President, Office of the Deputy President, and the Prime CS. Then you will see significant movements towards the direction. And to some extent, I want to believe it is to justify what we've seen in the implementation of the 2025-2026 budget, which went extremely high. For instance, when we saw State House budget increasing from 8 billion to 17 billion, close to 18 billion. But if you look at what has been done in this current budget, you will see, they will tell you that now we listened to what Kenyans were saying, and we've tried reducing that in the budget estimates that we proposed. But still, it is 5 billion more than what was passed in for 2025-2026. Currently, State House is planning 13 billion. Okay. And you see that movement, you go to the office of the DP, you will see the same things. And that tells you a lot of things. Then I know someone here will say, but education has got, is the highest, is funded by the highest margin, 781 billion. How can you say we are not prioritizing where Kenyans' interests are? Then you look at the education budget, you realize TSC has been allocated 422 billion of that budget. That is more than 50%. Then if you look at what that amount is, the 422, it is supposed to go to salaries.
And
all of it.
recurrent expenditure.
Expenditure.
Okay.
Actually, it is 420 something going to recurrent expenditure. Then leaving around 700 million for development. That
across education?
That is, yes, TSC. That is TSC alone, because it is what is taking the bigger chunk of that money.
Yeah.
Then you ask, who is this 422 billion going to pay? Because if you look at that budget, we were told in the budget policy statement that the government is prioritizing recruiting 30,000 teachers. Then you look at what is in the budget, you're being told that only 20,000 intern teachers are going to be absorbed into permanent and pensionable. Then 6,000 more are going to be promoted teachers. Then you ask yourselves, we ask ourselves, the 30,000 who we were promised to be absorbed or to be recruited, where are they? Okay? So those are some of the gaps. You cannot see them if you don't go deeply into what is there. Because if you look at again at the current student to teacher ratio, it is alarming And if you look at what is being proposed by, according to the gaps that were being given by the TSC themselves and the ministry, they were saying we need like 100,000 more teachers. We should recruit 100,000 more teachers. Then in the budget policy statement, they said we will recruit 30,000. But now they're recruiting 20,000.
Okay.
Yes.
Just to go back a little bit, just for clarification purposes. So the budget process starts on around the 30th of August, and then it takes us through until April, when now you're told, okay, well, the finance bill is out.
Yes.
So all of these things that we are talking about, education, agriculture, whatever, that is how much the government wants to spend in the next financial year. Now, what the finance bill does is that it stipulates then where they are going to get the money for this budget, isn't it?
The additional money.
Yes, extra money they're looking for.
Yes.
So that's why when they come and tell you that there will be an increased tax on you sending money. So they're going to gather up all the money that they get from that, and they're going to put it into this big basket. And then some of that will go to education, some of that will go to agriculture, some of that will go to whatever. So the finance bill basically is demarcating where there's going to be an extra tax here and there, so that we know this is what KRA then is able to collect.
Yeah.
That's how we get to the 3.6 trillion. The 1.1 trillion is now that money that KRA will not be able to get. They cannot tax you anymore because there's nothing left. But they'll say now that is the money that we're now going to go and borrow. So that's why we say the finance bill is the fuel of the budget, because that is where you will get the money from to then activate this thing. That's why it's important for you to understand why they say public participation on the finance bill, because you can go and say, excuse me, there's nothing left for you to come and tax. Where are you going to get it from, essentially? Now, help me understand. If in the previous budget, as absorption was low, what we are talking about? And number two, if absorption is low on a previous budget, why would you increase it? Why would you increase your budget numbers on the next one if you are not able to absorb properly on the last one?
Let's clarify. The absorption is not low. It is low because of delayed disbursements.
And that money is available?
No.
Why is the money delayed?
The money delays because first you must pay debt.
All right.
Okay.
So the minute you pay debt, there is very little. But secondly, because you must first pay ministries that procure. And procurement is very good. You know, procurement is very good because people plan for it. People in power plan for procurement. They plan to procure 106 billion SHA system. A system, a digital one.
Yeah.
Then they tell us we have a deficit. Therefore, we sell Kenya Pipeline Corporation for 103, 106. There. A whole infrastructure with land and so on, you can't compare. So that's the second reason, that disbursements first go to ministries that have a lot of procurement. Ministries that are around social services, education, principals every day are scratching their head. They don't know, how will I feed these children? Where will I get textbook, exercise books? They will get the capitation for this year. First, right now they've gotten the
first term is complete.
Yes.
Yeah.
Second term, okay.
Yeah, they are not sure. Most of the money comes that term there. So
if it is complete.
Yes.
Okay.
So when we do the analysis of budget implementation and absorption, it will look like education is low, but it is the disbursement.
Okay.
Counties also face a similar challenge because they will be allocated the 420 billion, but the money will delay before it hits their account. Sometimes they will flex, the Council of Governors will speak, and the money will come sooner. Again, in the counties, once the money hits their account, what does it do first? It pays salaries. Before it can then go to resource medical facilities, resource agricultural extension services. Things that mwananchi needs are always the last priority. So
And it should be the
other way
round.
You know, we keep saying we the people. Where are we? Where is we the people in this budget?
Okay, I'm sorry. I have to. We don't know, so
Yes.
we want to understand.
Yes.
Because then it helps us to then be more active. If we are saying is there a rule that you have to stick to the budget in Kenya?
Yes.
It's a law.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you've also said that education 704 billion shillings, right? It was a little less. Tom.
781.
781 billion shillings for 2026.
Yes.
What was it in 2025?
In 2025, 2026, it was 701.
That is that's where my head was. 701 billion shillings. We know for a fact that by the time third term rolled around for 2025, that there was a deficit of 4,031 shillings per child.
Per child, yes.
Per child. So if you have to stick to the budget, can you see where I'm going?
Yeah.
And you didn't give them this money, and you have the finance bill, which became an act, and you have the appropriations bill, where they now go and sit down and say, okay, so now let's share the cow, right? If the money didn't get to where you have said, and you've said that we have to follow the budget, where does that money go?
Where does?
I'll allude to what Diana said. Just using the education example, I think it was this month when the Ministry of Education gave us a circular that they were releasing money for textbooks, 95 shillings per child. We remember?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, 95 shillings. Then we are saying there are some deficit, but we ideally, when we look at the budget, there was an allocation. Okay? Then we ask ourselves, where is the money going? When we look at our constitution, the first thing that we should fund using our budget is our national interests, where education, health, and the key service areas should be a priority. Okay, but then after that, the number two thing is the public debt. Okay, but ideally, what is happening in our country or with our government is the first thing that we do before we finance our national interest is the public debt. So if you ask where that money is going into debt payment. Okay, so after the debt has been prioritized, it has been number one. It has been made number one, the biggest priority. Then now the government will stand and start looking, where can we get the extra money now, or money to take to education, to take to health, and to take to counties. And that is where the problem begins.
So that means
Yes.
the critical areas that the government should be focusing on, that is Mwananchi centered, which is critical to the country, is the second option after we've paid the debt.
Yes.
But I want to look at Diana. If you look at the way budget policy statement is created and all that, is because we are, correct me if I'm wrong, as I build up to it, we have this money and it will be used to, say, fund education. This is the money. We will use X amount to build the roads, the schools. We'll use these to build the stadia and everything else. It is well stipulated on what that money would do. So therefore, when we find that later in the year, after the budget policy has been passed, that someone stood somewhere and said, you know what, nitawatengenezea swimming pool here, yet it was not in the budget. At that particular point, are we going against the budget that we passed? And how does that then hurt Mwananchi or stop Mwananchi from benefiting from these taxes they've paid, say, in funding education, healthcare, critical things that should benefit Mwananchi?
One, when the budget process starts in August, all sectors go and give their input.
Yes.
Now, very few people say remove this because everybody roots for their area. We need roads. The education sector says we need, and we have a certain attitude of add. Then, in my opinion, I also think how we make our budget is problematic because after the sector hearings with different ministry, Treasury comes together. They attempt to strike off, this is too ambitious and so on. But nobody goes into the historical books. So if I put in a line that I need, let's call ourselves Office of the Citizen.
Yes.
Office of the Citizen needs makeup. And we put that line in 2012, it will never be removed. And it will keep being increased for inflation. But when we look at it, we no longer need makeup. What is the occasion for the Office of the Citizen? Maybe the Office of the Citizen needs shoes. That level of discussion and analysis of the budget does not happen, despite the process, the fact that we have a very elaborate process. Thereafter, Parliament is given the budget. When the budget is given to them, it goes to the various departmental committees. So like the education one always increases and has a way of rallying Kenyans. Watoto wetu. So the budget goes up. The health one increases and so on. We leave it at that, genuinely. And there's a level of, there's a need that informs the increase. But deep down, the technocrats know what we must pay is this debt, and then immediately, whatever the president prioritizes will take precedent. Somehow. Now, we made a mistake of saying that the Cabinet Secretary for Treasury can authorize a variation, a 10% variation in the budget. This is a 10%, 4.8 trillion.
Yep.
Yeah.
480 billion.
480 billion, yeah.
They can vary that. Other than education and debt, there is nothing else, no other expenditure in this budget that is 480 billion. The variation that the Cabinet Secretary can make. But is it the Cabinet Secretary who varies? No. It is State House that varies the budget. So they do first supplementary, they vary. At 10%. They do the second one, they vary. That is why the president can make all these pronouncements on the go and we deviate. Then thereafter...
Okay, sorry.
Today.
See now, finally.
Finally.
Because we often ask the question, if I'm sorry to interrupt, please hold on to that thought so that we can now connect and move forward. But then we often wonder if the nation has a budget-making arm, which is Parliament, then goes on to make the law, and we don't hear these things because, I mean, the painstaking job of reading and looking through the numbers, like the way TISA does and other stakeholders, it's a lot of work to look through the fine lines. But I don't know that you would then be able to find a fence that would cost, I don't know, however many billion. That would be up by July in that, because that's what when you do a budget, you have to do the lines, the nitty-gritty of how much you're going to spend and what you're going to spend on it. So we're often left to wonder when somebody says we will build a road that's going to cost whatever and this how much it's going to cost and we're going to do it, but we didn't hear it mentioned. So now
makes sense.
The variance, if what I'm getting you say, the variance is what leaves some extra money in the kitty for then me to come and say, well, you have had a problem with classrooms, have 20 million, like that, and we can go ahead doing things like that.
Yes.
So it is money that has been budgeted for, but it is not, doesn't have a line. Is that what we are saying?
It has a line, but we left a leeway for a 10% variation. I've given you the cumulative.
Okay.
If you varied the education budget, you have 70 billion to throw around, to toss around.
Yes.
And that it is abused because that variation is only allowed for unexpected, unforeseen,
like COVID. Okay.
A major disaster,
Flooding.
All right. That is the only time we are allowed that type of variation. We didn't anticipate as a country we will go to war. We've gone to war. But for us,
That's
always...
That's an example.
It's an example,
Okay,
sorry.
thanks.
It's
Okay.
a very... It's completely unforeseen. But our unforeseen is usually we needed empowerment of youth every weekend in church. We vary a budget.
We need to construct a new church.
Yes, we need a new church. We need to announce to launch a new road. We vary the budget. And all that is expected is the cabinet secretary comes and explains themselves to parliament. Oh, we varied a budget by this much. Please approve. And that is what results in supplementary appropriation.
Diana, even as we talk about the supplementaries, do we go detail by detail on what these variations would be going to do, or is it open source?
Tom analyzes supplementary budget every time and annoys us. Makes us get potential.
So it is what happens is very simple, because simple on paper, but it is really technical.
Okay.
Because what you will get to see is, or even in the parliament, what they will get to see, they will be given lines that are already spent. When we said, for instance, that State House budget increased from 8 billion to 17.9 billion. Okay?
Double.
That is
100%.
Yes, 100% increase. So, what Parliament is going to have is a figure that has already been spent by State House. Okay? Then now you need to ask yourself,
Sorry.
Yes.
You said it.
I know.
You said it has already been spent. It has been spent. Then come and say approve.
Yes.
I know
approve.
there's an allowance for something like that, whereby they can come and say, okay, well, we spent this money without parliamentary approval, but we can then come back and say, okay, well, here's the explanation. There's some leeway for that.
Yes.
Is this what you're talking about?
Yes.
All right. Okay.
Yes. So they come and say, this is how it has gone. Now you ask yourself. They will not provide that explanation. You will have to go and dig it yourself from the budget books. How was this used?
And Parliament should be asking this question.
Yes.
They should be asking.
Okay.
That is their mandate.
All right.
So then when you go to the books, you want to see how was this money reallocated? How was it used? Then you realized one of the things that really consumed money was domestic travels. And when you try to see, it was the maybe president going there, here and there, going to maybe launch a road, maybe going to launch a Nyota program somewhere, or the DP going to some Harambe somewhere.
8 million a day.
Yes, that one for Chopper. And you look at those lines, and you see those are actually where the money went to. There was nothing constructive.
So,
yes,
is it possible
Yes.
that these variances that we are talking about, whereby there was a chopper ride here, there was, whatever it is the case, that if you put all this money together over time, is it possible that the amount of external, or whether it's external or domestic debt that you then take on would reduce?
Without a doubt.
Okay.
Without a doubt. Add this. Under Uhuru, we used to lose 2 billion a day. Our deficit during that period was that 2 billion that we lose. Okay? Under Kenya Kwanza, we were losing 3 billion a day. Times 365,
My calculator.
times 364 is a trillion.
Yes.
And that's the
Deficit.
Yes, that's the deficit.
So most of the money is stolen or misappropriated. We don't need the deficit we have is a budget padded so that they can take away, they can steal from it.
It's the things that our Jiro Gikonyo used to call budgeted corruption.
Corruption, properly.
Right.
It's the budgeted corruption that is now properly legislated. It will be procured out into contracts. And remember, this is the pain of this debt. The 3 billion we will lose to corruption. But the 900 billion that we are repaying in debt, we are paying local banks. Who owns these local banks?
Oh my God.
Who are the majority shareholders? How comes nearly every person who becomes a president owns a bank? And treasury bills and bonds have been what percent? 15. This is the first time they are 8-9%. You know, even the China debt we complain about is 2%. That is what we repay.
Yeah.
But we repay our political elite, the money they lend us.
15%.
And it has to be a priority. So when we are saying debt is a priority and people can starve to death, we are saying we must pay. Most of the people who are not entrepreneurs who can give us a talk on how to make money, become rich and inspire people. It is people who have taken our money through sweat and blood.
Wait.
Oh,
Diana. When we were younger, we had to learn via rote.
Yes.
Repeat. So I am sorry. So domestic debt takes up the majority percent of what Kenya owes. True? False?
Currently,
at the moment,
yes.
Domestic debt.
Yes.
And it's a nice word, but domestic debt, essentially what you're saying is that you're borrowing from local financial institutions.
Yes.
Now, there's a demand 8% vis-a-vis 2% to China. So the amount it's a more expensive loan.
Yes.
The domestic debt is more expensive than external debt. But there is an appetite for domestic debt. Why is that? But remember that the 1.1 trillion is what Kenya owes, not will owe, owes. That's
it's due.
It's due.
Okay. Overall, we owe 12.8.
Overall, 12.8 trillion.
Yes. Yeah.
Then, but what we are saying now in this budget, are we? I don't know if it's me who's not. That's why we are. That's why you're here. On this 4.82 trillion, already 1.1 trillion is money that you're going to borrow.
Yes.
And what we are saying, he'll read it come July 1st or whatever, June 30th, that we will get from the domestic, those nice words, we will borrow from the domestic market, etc., percentage, whatever. But we already know that the larger payment comes in interest. And there is a difference of about 6% in terms of the interest that you will pay. So are we saying it makes sense to borrow externally if must than it does to borrow internally?
We must start borrowing externally. We don't like borrowing. Currently, we are not borrowing as much externally. One, because sadly, the IMF we dislike, we behaved so badly. We are not looking good on the international front. So we can no longer go to the international market. Why? Because our IMF program that is supposed to ensure we reduce expenditure, we are disciplined, all targets nearly collapsed, the main ones. I think the one for marshalling dollars, the reserves in the central bank, that one was successful. But secondly, they come with conditions. Most of the external debt comes with certain conditions, and some of them are governance related. Right now, we don't want that discipline of governance-related conditions. But secondly, we don't control the external market, but we do control the domestic market for banks, for insurance, for pension firms, and so on. This year, as we plan to borrow 1.2, we'll take 900 billion. In an economy that requires that money to be pumped into businesses, into local industries. My bank agent no longer calls me, who has a pay slip. I am such a liability. They don't know whether I'll have a contract next year. All they do is every day you're waiting for the next treasury bill, the next treasury bond. And based on that, imagine, look at 8 top CEOs of banks. They got how much in bonuses? 800 million, 817 million, thereabout. 8.
Not
Those
the
are
bank, the
No, the
individual.
the individuals.
Okay.
Yes.
How much did our banks make? Yet even the Kenya Bankers Association is like, their morality is kicking in. They are telling government, please, we can't lend you. Allow us to lend to the people.
MSMEs, the ones, the builders of the economy.
Exactly.
Okay.
And if you don't build that economy, there will be nobody to pay tax.
Tom,
Yes.
Yeah.
Tom, I want to look at the debt question as we talk. There is external debt.
Yes.
There is internal debt that is to the financial institutions. But in our books, do we have pending bills as debt that is recognized by the books? Do we have debt that is owed to schools, debt that is owed to health institutions as debt? And in the question of variations, do we have these variations across ministries and other agencies as well, or is it just restricted to the executive?
That is the issue of pending bills. Shock on you or shock on us. Pending bills, when we are calculating our debt, it has not been included.
Should it?
It should be.
Because it's debt?
Yes.
Okay.
It should be. But as at now, pending bills are not included in the debt. The numbers you are seeing, the 12.8 trillion that we were talking about here as our total domestic public debt,
yeah.
It is not there. When you look at the interest payment that has been mooted here of 1.1 that we are going to pay, it is not part of that. And according to the pending bills verification committee that was constituted by the president himself, as I think they've, in their verification up to now, they are saying there is around 800 billion in pending bills that we have, and it has been distributed both at the national and at the county level. Okay. Mm-hmm. And at the national level, we have the MDS ministries, department and state agencies, where these are, these pending bills. So this is a very big issue, and I want to link it to the conversation on the domestic debt, because it is really crippling how money is circulating in our economy. Okay. Because someone or a supplier who went to supply government, what did they do? They went and borrowed from a bank to provide services to government. Then the government has stayed with that money for more than 1 year without paying them. Some of them, they've been auctioned by the banks they borrowed from. These are people who are now getting out of business. And we are definitely, in one way or the other, we are losing taxpayers. We are losing employment. These people there are people who are being employed, okay? The people who are being employed. And this is seriously affecting the economy, both at the national level and at the county level. So you see how it is crippling both sides, both the devolution and at the national level. And that is what I can say about the pending bills and how it keeps on.
And the variations, are we seeing, do ministries and agencies as well spend in these variations as well, or is it just on executive?
The supplementary appropriation will cut across. They will pick from each of the ministries, so there are variations everywhere. It's a kitty for everybody, like a strong ping pong, pick from here, pick from here. So by the time you aggregate to get the picture of what is happening, that is when the shock hits you. And we have, is it 500 billion of pending bills, thereabout?
Yes.
That is not included in the domestic debt. So we are at 12.8. Add half a trillion, we are at 13.3.
Yeah.
Then there is a contingent liability, guaranteed debt.
Yeah.
Yes.
Kenya Airways, you need a loan, we guarantee you. KPLC, you need a loan, we guarantee you. We government, rich people. So we've guaranteed very many. Right now they are called government-owned enter
State-owned enterprises.
State-owned enterprises.
Yes.
But they're also now moving to GOES, the new act that was passed that is going to lead the privatization process. The National Infrastructure Fund.
Wait. Okay, you know why I'm saying you hold? Because I am going to beg you, please, just give us some minutes after we go to the news. We were supposed to do this till 9 o'clock.
Okay.
But it is too important what you've said, especially vis-a-vis the budget, to leave this out. Please give us 10 minutes after the break. Let's go to the news. We'll come back. Take a Panadol if your head hurts, because you might need it. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.